The piece that I will be discussing throughout this entire video is one of William Shakespeare's most popular plays, A Midsummer Night's Dream, presented by me, Christina Colville. A Midsummer Night's Dream was written by William Shakespeare in 1595 to 1596 during the era Queen Elizabeth I was reigning. It is considered a comedy and takes place in Athens. A Midsummer Night's Dream is about different couples and their struggle throughout the play. First, we are introduced to Theseus, the Duke of Athens, who is planning his wedding with Hippolyta, who is the queen of the Amazon. Next, we are introduced to Aegeus. Aegeus is planning his daughter Hermia's marriage to Demetrius, who is in love with Hermia, but Hermia is not in love with him. Hermia is in love with Lysander and wants to marry Lysander. Theseus tells Hermia if she does not marry the man of her father's choice, she will be sent to a nunnery or even worse, executed. Hermia and Lysander then decide to run off together and get married somewhere else. Hermia tells Helena what Lysander and her are about to do. Helena is Hermia's best friend who was once engaged to Demetrius, and she still loves him even after Demetrius left Helena after meeting Hermia and says that he is in love with Hermia. In hopes of regaining Demetrius' love, Helena decides she's going to tell him what Hermia and Lysander are about to do. In the same woods, we now meet another group of characters. We meet Oberon, the king of the fairies, and Titania, the queen of the fairies. The king and queen are seen arguing. Angered from the argument, Oberon seeks revenge. He then makes his servant Puck retrieve a magical flower that has a love spell juice inside of it and is told to spread it over Titania's eyes in hopes of waking up and falling in love with the wild, ugly beast. When Oberon sees Demetrius treating Helena badly, he orders Puck to put some of the juice over Demetrius' eyes so that he falls in love with Helena. But Puck sees Hermia and Lysander and mistakes him for Demetrius and spreads the juice over Lysander's eyes instead. When Lysander wakes up, the first person he sees is Helena, causing him to fall madly deeply in love with her, making him abandon Hermia. Puck overhears the rehearsal for the play that Bottom and some of his friends are performing and is horrified at their horrible, bad acting. Deciding that Bottom is the worst of them all, he gives him a donkey head. Titania then wakes up, and Bottom is the first person she sees, causing her to fall in love with him. When Oberon realizes that Puck put the spell on the wrong guy, he demands Puck to then spread the juice over Demetrius' eyes so that he will be the one that will fall in love with Helena. Now both Lysander and Demetrius are both in love with Helena. While everyone is sleeping, Puck is trying to fix his mistakes by reversing Lysander's spell so that he is in love with Hermia again and makes it so none of them remembered what happened exactly in the woods that day. Oberon then returns to Titania and is disgusted by the fact that she is in love with Bottom, a man with a donkey head. He then turns over the love spell and makes Titania think that it was all a dream. When the two couples awaken, Demetrius confesses his love for Helena. Theseus then suggests that the two couples are to be wedded the same exact day with him and his bride. One major thing that everyone says about William Shakespeare's plays after reading them is that he is a man before his time. This is because throughout every play written by William Shakespeare, he sheds light on subjects that many are blinded to even realizing is going on, even to this day. In A Midsummer Night's Dream, he does this by mocking the patriarchal society and their gender roles that were created during his time period. A lot of this comes hand in hand with his recurring theme of love, which I will explain later on. Some might be wondering, what is patriarchy? Well, patriarchy is a system of society or government in which men hold the power and women are largely excluded from it. Many actions that reoccur where Shakespeare shows a patriarchal society is the male dominance over women and the objectification of women. Not only is male dominance happening between couples, but it is also happening between a father and daughter type of relationship. An example of this is when Aegeus tells his daughter, Hermia, that she must marry his suitor of choice or she will be sent to a nunnery or be executed. This also plays into the objectification of women part. Aegeus is objectifying his daughter by being possessive over her and treating her like she's a piece of property or an object that can be sold to anyone at any time. There are a couple of specific examples of gender roles created shown in this play. The first example is how the men treat and talk down to the women. An example of this is when Helena is following Demetrius in the woods and he states that if she does not stop, he will harm her. They also do not care about how women feel or think. For instance, when Hermia does not want to marry Demetrius but wants to marry Lysander, her father does not listen, nor does he care. Another example of this is when both Demetrius and Lysander love Helena. They decide to have a sword fight over who will win her, rather than asking her opinion which one she would rather be with. A plethora of Shakespearean plays showed exactly how people from his era acted and treated each other. He came to realize that much of the way they acted, reacted, and dressed was all because of love. Love, back in his time, was a big deal to everyone. Throughout this play, the characters are after false love. An example of this would be when Demetrius once loved Helena, but once he saw Hermia, he then fell in love with her also. This is false love because he fell in love with her by her looks. Later on, after being put under a love spell, he loves Helena again. Again, false love though. This is like the idea of being in love and having someone that loves them. Shakespeare shows the true behaviors from couples in our society. You might be asking yourself, how does false love and gender role come hand in hand? Well, during this play, some of the women would be seen as, in quotations, weak once in a relationship. This is because, as everyone says, love makes you do crazy things. For instance, when Helena states that men are supposed to woo the women and not the other way around, even after being rejected multiple times and even being threatened to be harmed multiple times, Helena still tries whatever she can to woo Demetrius. She does not get angry at Demetrius, but rather at herself for not being pretty enough. And these are my sources. Thank you, and I hope you all enjoyed my presentation.